I'm Andrea Giles, and you're listening to the Heal from Infidelity podcast, episode number 23, Allowing Yourself to Be Wrong. Hello, and welcome to the Heal from Infidelity podcast, where courageous women learn not only to heal from their spouse's betrayal, but to become the boldest, truest, most decisive, and confident versions of themselves ever. If you know there's more for you than the life you're currently living, but don't quite know how to get there, you are in the right place. Stick around to learn how to create a life that will knock your own socks off. Is it possible? It is, and I'm here to show you how. I'm your host, Andrea Giles. Are you ready? Let's dive in. Hey, everybody. Happy New Year. This is my first episode that I'm recording here in 2021. I hope everybody had a good holiday, Christmas, New Year's, all the things. I hope that you're doing well. I know for a lot of people that I've spoken to, they're not quite feeling like revved up for the new year. Are you one of those? Can you raise your hand? Maybe kind of tired, maybe unrested, not as rested as you thought you would be over the holidays. Maybe some dread about this year of, well, what's coming next? Is it really going to lift? Are we really going to be able to move freely and go to places freely and see people and all the things that we miss so much in 2021? Or is it going to be more of the same? If you're one of those people that might feel that way, just give yourself the biggest hug. It's okay. It's okay. This whole thing has been a collective experience of growth, and I think there's been a lot of grief, a lot of just uncertainty collectively for everyone. And if you're feeling that way, I'm reaching out to you and giving you a big hug as well. So today, I'm going to talk about something that I have really enjoyed working on myself, something that's made a huge difference for myself and that I want to share with you today. In part, I decided to do this because I was reflecting on my year last year and really diving in and assessing my year and where I want to grow, areas that I did well, that I'm really happy about, and areas that I want to change up for this coming year, and just really doing some reflections. And this concept that I'm about to dive in is one that I really used this last year myself, and it made a huge, huge difference in my growth. And so I want to give it to you today, allowing yourself to be wrong. So first of all, I want to talk about last year. Like I said, I think that collectively we were all given a lot of things to think more critically about than maybe we had before. We had many opportunities to see things in a way that maybe we hadn't before, taking a different look at them, a different approach. Many of these things were handed to us not by choice, that we had to consider differently, that maybe we hadn't ever considered before. We might have had assumptions about things that were challenged. I'm going to go over a couple of those. One, you might have thought, I can only be spiritual and practice my religion by going to church every week. All of us had to reevaluate how we practiced our faith, how we practice spirituality. For some of you, it might have been going to church every week, and then suddenly you couldn't go to church. What then? This is where this thought, maybe I'm wrong. I thought I had to go to church every week to really feel spiritual and to feed my spirit. Turns out I was wrong. Maybe I was wrong. How about this one? How are my kids going to get educated if they're not going to school? I thought they needed to go to school to get educated. Turns out I was wrong. Or I thought that I was incapable of being like a homeschool mom where I'm taking over their education, making sure they're learning what they need, making sure they are where they need to be at different times. There might have been a thought before of I cannot do that. Turns out I was wrong. Okay. What about this one? Connecting with people. What's an assumption you had about how connections happen? Are they in meetings, group settings where you go out, where you meet up with people? What about things like church meetings? There might have been an assumption that we need to meet in person for all of these different things, to connect, to have the great discussions, to make the decisions. What if we're wrong? It's amazing to me to see how collectively we have adapted. how now Zoom meetings are happening everywhere all the time, how things are probably changed that won't go back to how they were, that maybe there's things that have changed that maybe are better than they were before. Like I'm thinking specifically of a friend of mine whose husband is in a leadership position at church, and he has hours of meetings every week, and they've all been on Zoom. And if it weren't for Zoom, he would be away from his family at all of these meetings. And so the question is, what if we're wrong that we have to actually be in person to connect? What if there's other ways of connect? We've all been given all these different things to look at, not only with like the practical day-to-day things, but even how we view our country, our politics with an election year, with some of the political things that have come up, some of the discussions around race and equality. All of these things have been brought out in 2020 in a way that I have never experienced and have forced me to think about things differently. And so, again, back to the title of this podcast, Allowing Yourself to Be Wrong. I want to talk about why it's such a gift to allow yourself to be wrong. Many of us are afraid of being wrong. We want to be right, so help me. And I've learned that it's the greatest gift to give myself, that I actually can be wrong and it's not a problem. So I want to talk a little bit about what that has looked like for me personally this year. I'm going to get personal. You know that I do that. I get personal. I tell you what's really going on with me. So here we go. Okay. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what happened this year. So first, some history. I grew up in a home where I had 3 brothers and 3 sisters, and I was the first one to go to college. I was the 5th of 7, and I was the first one to go. Neither of my parents finished college degrees. My mother has gone back and gotten her nursing degree, which is awesome. She did that in her 50s, but neither of them finished like traditional bachelor's degrees. I knew that I wanted to go to college, and I made it happen, and I went. But then I got married and wanted to be a mom and didn't know that I could really truly pursue both, like schooling and being a mom. I didn't know how to do that. I didn't know how to give myself permission. And so I stopped going to school and I followed my first husband all over. We lived in the UK, we lived in Michigan, we lived in several places in Texas, we lived in the Bay Area for his career, for his schooling. And I put myself and my desire secondary to him because I felt like that was the right thing to do. I felt like he was the smarter one. He was the more capable one, that I was a little bit less important because I didn't have the fancy degrees. I wasn't making the income he was, things like that. And I definitely had a story about what I was capable of. I carried around a story for so long that I'm too insecure to really do anything really significant. Just too insecure. Those exact words, insecure. Where that comes from is, I think I've spoken about this before, but when I was pretty young, I think I was 19, a well-meaning person said to me, "Do you know what your greatest weakness is, Andrea?" I said, "What?" "How insecure you are." And I think in hindsight, it was intended to be a compliment, but it felt really, really crushing because it was like telling me the news, like, this is how tall you are. This is your label. You're insecure. And it was followed up with, you don't need to be, but I heard the label like it was imprinted on my forehead and it hurt. And so for years I carried that around of, this is just who you are. You don't get to have what you want. You don't get to really bust through this because this is actually who you are. And this past year, I got some really good coaching around this from great coaches. And I learned to allow myself to be wrong. And how I allowed myself to be wrong is not what you think. It's not that I was trying to say, oh, no, you're not insecure at all, and trying to talk myself out of that story. Actually, where I allowed myself to be wrong is in thinking that I could not be somebody who sometimes experienced insecurity and do amazing things. That's where I was wrong. I carried around for years that I was too uneducated, that I was too dingy. Like, I space things out a lot. I miss details sometimes. I forget things. Too unorganized. I'm not somebody that's just super organized and super tidy. And I thought, well, I can't do these things that I really want because of these other pieces. And I allowed myself this past year to really lean into, what if I'm wrong? What if I can be all of those things and still do exceptional things with my life? What? And so I challenged that. And instead of fighting with insecurity and feeling like I was in this prison of insecurity, like with this sentence going, you can't get out of this jail until you're somebody who doesn't feel insecure ever. And so I'd fight with that. Like I would fight with it and try to talk myself out of feeling insecure and give myself pep talks. And instead, what I did is I learned to hang out with those things and actually be friends with them. My experience before was I thought that I couldn't have these breakthroughs. I couldn't really have the life I wanted until those things just went away. And so I went from therapist to therapist for years, trying to make those things go away, trying to feel better, trying to be the person that never feels insecure, who is organized, who has it all put together. And then I can ... Then I will be worthy of ... Then I can lead. Then I can have the business I want. Then I can be the mom that I want. Then I can be the wife that I want to be. And when I've learned to just set that all down and go, what if I can be all of those things and still be an amazing wife, an amazing business owner, an amazing coach, all the things, an amazing leader? That has just been the best gift that I have given myself in this last year. I never needed to fix anything, and neither do you. I never needed to fix them. They did not need to go away. I needed to learn to embrace them. To say, hey, first of all, I know where this insecurity comes from. Understanding that the feeling of insecurity is created in my brain. It's created by thoughts that I think. And as I continue to grow, I do challenge those thoughts that are creating the insecurity in the first place. But I can become the person that can handle feeling insecure and not obey it. I can handle feeling bad sometimes and still move forward. I didn't need to fix them. I didn't need to eradicate them for me to feel loving towards myself, for me to feel whole, for me to feel like where I am today is good enough. That's a miracle for me. That's the biggest shift that I've experienced in this past year. Some other shifts that I've seen in this past year are I've gained some weight this past year. I remember when COVID first hit and I was working out every day. I had a good routine. I would get up and work out, get the kids out the door to school, go do my own personal journaling and coaching myself, and then I'd get ready for the day and get to work. And then the kids all came home and something like shifted in my brain, and I kind of a little bit went into survival mode. And it's so interesting that even though I teach these things, I have a very human brain that acts like a human brain. And I remember just feeling like, nope, I've got to hunker down and I don't want to make myself too tired. And I need to just focus on getting the kids situated. And I stopped working out. And little by little over the year, I have eaten and felt, the stress of different things and eaten my way through it, even though intellectually I know better. But guess what? I have a human brain and human brains act like human brains. And so now what's been different about that experience for me, though, as opposed to years past, is that in the past, I would make myself so wrong for that and be like, you're so weak. What's wrong with you? Like, you should know better. You know how to lose weight. You know how to do these things. Did you know that I even in my certification to become a coach, I also learned a lot about weight loss coaching, and I'm actually certified to help people lose weight. So I could be saying to myself, look at you. You call yourself a coach, yet you've gained weight and you're heavier than you want to be. And guess what? I don't do that. And I'm willing to let myself be wrong about that. I am exactly where I need to be. It's not a problem. I'm not hating on my body. I'm not mad at myself. I'm to a spot now where I'm ready to do something about it because I want a different experience for myself. That's not coming from any kind of graspiness to prove anything to anybody. Same with some of the goals that I set for myself last year. It wasn't to show how awesome I am or to outdo anybody, things like that. It's from a place of just wanting to grow myself and wanting to have a different experience. I prefer to have this experience instead of this experience. So right now I'm like, I prefer having my clothes fit really well. I prefer having more energy. I prefer being a person who has less headaches and migraines. And I want to make the shifts so that I can feel more comfortable in my body. And that is coming from a place of love and not lack, not needing to prove anything to anybody. Another area that I've grown in this last year is many of us think that we know what's best for our kids. We think that they should be doing things in a certain way and that they should make certain choices for them to be happy, for them to have the best life. Well, guess what? This past year, some of my kids have made choices that I thought that I used to think would be wrong choices. That would be the label, though they're making the wrong choices. What if I'm wrong about that? What if I'm wrong? I was wrong. How do I know that I was wrong? Because some of them are making different choices than what I thought were best for them. And who am I to know what journey they need? They might need to go through some of the experiences they're going through for their good. For their good. Maybe those are the best choices for them. I'm willing to be wrong. I thought that it would look a certain way. Turns out I was wrong, and it's okay. It doesn't mean I haven't had to experience some grief, experience some allowing myself some room to feel some disappointment. I can totally do disappointment and sadness and feel all of those things and also allow myself to be wrong about what I thought it would look like, how I thought it would be, and what I thought would be best. Turns out I was wrong. One more thing. I have lots of kids. I have lots of teenagers, and I have some teenagers who sometimes come and take stuff from my room. I have a daughter who's 17, and sometimes I'll find items missing, like makeup or my hair things or a brush or things like that. And my mind will immediately go to, she took it, and I'll get annoyed and feel frustrated. And, this thought, maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong, has really, really helped to diffuse some of that instant frustration, some of that instant annoyance. God, I could be wrong. And the thing that's amazing is that most of the time I am wrong. Most of the time it's me that put it somewhere else. Or most of the time it's me that just I'm not seeing it immediately. And so I make this assumption. And even in times that I'm right, I'm creating that emotional response for myself, right? And so for me to say I could be wrong, maybe I'm wrong, that immediately brings me down, and then I can go find it, right? I can ask the questions, I can look for it and find it without being so ready to be annoyed and pouncing, okay? So now, let's talk about you. Are you willing to be wrong? Are you willing to be wrong? And where can you try this on? I'm going to give you some suggestions, okay? I hear a lot of thoughts from my clients about things that they have believed are true. And I want you to hear these and see if you have done the same thing. Sometimes my clients think that it's weak, that they're staying in a marriage where infidelity took place. Sometimes they think that they're weak for leaving. What does it mean about me that I'm leaving? What does it mean about me if I'm staying? I hear those from pretty much everybody I talk to. One version or the other of that. If I leave, what does it mean? If I stay, am I just weak? Am I just not standing up for myself? Part of this comes from cultural things that we have heard, such as you can't really recover from it. You can't really ever trust again. You can't ever have your marriage really be whole. You'll always just wonder. You'll always have doubt in the back of your mind. You should just leave if your husband has an affair. That's how you show yourself love and support and stand up for yourself. Here's the problem with these things. None of them are true. How do I know that none of them are true? Because we have choice. Because we decide in our minds what is right for us. We get to decide if staying in our marriage or leaving our marriage is the best thing for us, and we make it right or wrong with the way that we choose to think about it. So if we're willing to be wrong, like for example, let's say you decide to stay in your marriage. Are you willing to be wrong that you can't ever have it be amazing, that you'll always doubt? You might still have that thought there going, I don't know, Andrea, I still have my doubts that we can ever really, really be happy, but I'm willing to be wrong. That little sentence at the end will open you up to ways that you might be wrong. Are you willing? What about this? I don't know that I can ever trust again, but I'm willing to be wrong. Prove me wrong. I'm willing to be wrong. And your brain will start looking for ways that you might be wrong. What about this one? I can be a confident woman and still feel shaky sometimes. You might have thought that confidence means just always feeling in control and like a boss and like you know what you're doing and have the answer to everything. What if that is wrong? Are you willing to be wrong about what confidence means? What if confidence actually means you're willing to be shaky and show up anyway? Are you willing to challenge your assumptions? What about this one? There's no good men out there. They're all taken. Are you willing to be wrong about that? Are you willing to believe that there are good men out there and that one of them is waiting to meet you? Huh? Are you willing? Isn't that fun? What about this one? I'm willing to be wrong about somebody wanting to take on being the father to my children. I remember thinking that. I remember thinking, who in their right mind would want to take on 6 more kids on purpose? And turns out I was wrong. I was willing to be wrong. I was willing to dip a toe out and date and talk to people. Turned out I was wrong. I met lots of great guys. And the man that I married is an excellent father to my kids, and he loves them, and it's genuine and real. He wants to be their dad. What else can you question? What else can you ask yourself? Are you willing to feel terrible and move forward anyway? What about this one? Can you be messy and still heal? Often we think that we have to just feel good all the time as our meter that we're like moving forward and healing. Are you willing to be wrong about that? What if you're feeling messy is the healing? What if you're not numbing it out? What if you're not running from it and keeping yourself so busy that you can't even feel it is the proof that you're healing? Are you willing to be wrong? Did you know that you can feel terrible and move forward? What about assumptions about the person who broke your trust? What are you assuming about them that you could be wrong about? Are you assuming that they're bad? Are you assuming that they're perverted? Are you assuming that they can never recover, that you can never trust them again? For some of you, there is judgment. There's good judgment involved in not handing over trust. If there's somebody who does not want to get better, who has no intention of trying to heal, of trying to address their own issues, it might be in your best interest to not hand over trust, right? But I'm talking about the general assumptions around pornography, around sex addiction, around affairs, all of those things. Are you willing to be wrong? There will be so much freedom in this. This is what will allow you, if you choose to step back into the relationship and give over some trust, trying to build trust again. The other thing with this thought, I'm willing to be wrong, is that it opens you up to curiosity. If he's not a terrible person, what else could be happening? If he's not just perverted, what else could be going on? That opens your brain up to new ways of looking at things and new ways of getting answers, asking yourself good questions. To wrap it up, I just want to tell you something that I have been contemplating sharing or not, but I'm going to go ahead and share because it's made such a difference for me. So this is my second year, as my second full year as a coach, 2020 was. I got certified at the end of 2018. 2019 was my first full year as a coach. And then 2020 was my second full year as a coach. And I set a money goal for myself for 2020 that felt really scary to me. And I didn't know how I was going to do it. But I knew that that money goal meant that I would be helping a certain number of people. And that's why I'm in this, right? Is to help people. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to just keep growing, keep showing up, keep putting things out there. And it felt really terrible. I think I've mentioned before, the day that this podcast was released, I cried. I felt so vulnerable, so like I'm standing naked in front of the world. I also felt proud of myself for doing it in the very same moment. But I knew that to hold on to that goal of helping people, that I was willing to feel that discomfort and move forward. I thought that I had to feel a certain way to be really successful, that I had to stop feeling insecure. I had to stop feeling shaky. I had to stop feeling scared. And what actually has happened this past year is I doubled my goal. I doubled it. This past year, I became a six-figure earning coach. And please know, I'm not telling you this to brag or to pat myself on the back, but to say, if I can do that as a woman who often feels insecure about things, who often wonders about things, who sometimes is just really tired, who's sometimes grumpy, who sometimes does not follow a super strict schedule, if I can do that, what can I do if I decide to have a different experience? Like if I decided to get up an hour earlier than I do, or if I decided to do my journaling every day without fail and never missing a day, what could I do then? Like this has really blown up my brain to look at all of this and to see how this past year went, even when I know very clearly what my flaws are. I thought that it had to look a certain way for me to have the success that I want. It turns out I was wrong. I was just wrong. And that is the best news. It gives me space and freedom to continue to move forward, even with the flaws, even with the thought errors. It means I get to help people. I get to serve people. I get to talk to you here, even when on my end, I don't have every answer. I don't have it all put together. Just like you, I'm working and growing. But that gift I've given myself of allowing myself to be wrong has been the thing that has propelled me forward and helped me to grow so quickly in my business, is allowing myself to be wrong about me. What if I'm wrong? What if I'm just wrong? And now I'm looking at some of the other things that I have just assumed, like that I'm not good at organizing and going, maybe I'm wrong about that. I thought that I wasn't capable of having a really successful, thriving business. I've never done it before. I've always been a stay-at-home mom. Gosh, turns out I was wrong. What else could I be wrong about? What else could you be wrong about? What can you do that you are currently thinking you can't do? Are you willing to be wrong? Are you willing to challenge it? There's so much freedom in this. I encourage you to try it out. I encourage you to practice. I encourage you to really look at the thoughts that you're taking at face value and throwing in there, and I'm willing to be wrong. What if I'm wrong? All right, that's all I have for you today, my friends. I just love you. I appreciate you being here so much. I love hearing from you. And I hope that you go out and have a wonderful 2021 and challenge those beliefs, my friends. You have so much in front of you. You have so many good things to look forward to. They're not far away. You don't have to wait years and years. They're literally a thought away. You can have a different experience for yourself by shifting one thought. I promise you that that is available to you. If you want more help from me, you can find me on social media. If you go to my website, AndreaGiles.com, you can find me there. You can always schedule a one-on-one call with me. This next year, I'm going to be doing some things. Right now, I'm just working one-on-one with people, which I love, but I've gotten pretty full. And so I'm going to be adding some things, like I'm going to be doing some group programs where my clients get to learn from each other, still get coaching from me, but also be in a setting where you can learn from each other and grow together. And that is so helpful and healing in knowing that you're not alone in your experience. So keep your eye out for that. Reach out. Let me know what you're looking for. Come talk to me, and sending you all the love. Thank you so much. And I'll see you next week. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to the Heal from Infidelity podcast. If you would like to be kept in the know about upcoming free classes, new podcast episodes, and other ways of working with me, go subscribe to my weekly email. You can subscribe at AndreaGiles.com/lies-about-infidelity/. Again, it's AndreaGiles.com/lies-about-infidelity/. I will see you next time.